Hi, good evening, everybody. This is Michelle from Sunway TES. I'm the main coordinator for CFA program. Welcome to Sunway TES live Facebook Live program. And tonight we are very glad to have Mr. Bing Hui here with us from AB Maximus. He's the chairman of AB Maximus, our main partner for in offering CFA program. Tonight, what we are going to share is on what would you expect by signing up with us and how CFA program can bring you to another level of your career. So let's welcome Beng Hui.
Hello, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Bing Hui, and we'll be starting right now with my presentation. So if we can put up the slides, then we'll get started right away. Okay, so the topic of the day is pathway to become a financial analyst, right? So as Michelle has introduced, I'm the chairman of AB Maximus, and of course, we've been partners with Sunway TES for 10 years, right? So it's quite a while. As a company, AB Maximus specializes in capital markets training. So we do a lot of training in the CFA space and also in capital markets in Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, and around Southeast Asia. All right. So let's jump into the topic right away. And on my next slide is about what are the top occupations of the CFA members. All right. So from the pie chart, you can see that the top two areas is portfolio manager and research analyst. So typically for people with the CFA charter, these are the traditional two areas. But of course, you can see from the pie chart, the CFA members also work in other capacities, right? They might be a chief executive of obviously a financial firm most of the time. They might be consultants, probably it's an investment consultant. They could be risk managers. They could be working in corporate finance. They might be a relationship manager, probably in a private bank. Or they might be a financial advisor, advising either corporate clients or individual clients. Or they could be under the others category, like myself, who is not directly in the financial industry. So this is a typical occupation, right? But for financial analyst, of course, it is interchangeable with the term research analyst um, in our field, right? So financial analyst, research analyst. Uh, I guess many of you aspire to be a research analyst. Some of you may aspire to be a fund manager or portfolio manager. All right. So tonight, I guess we will perhaps focus on these two areas a little bit more than the others. Okay, another way to look at this is on my next slide, which talks about the sector, right? The earlier slide is about the occupation or the job role, right? So this other slide is another way to look at it in terms of occupation, but it is in the sector, right? Which sector within finance would CFA members be working in? So of course, to no surprise, asset management is the biggest. It is the most important, and I think many people who take this uh, CFA qualification, or those who want to work as a financial analyst or research analyst, uh, most of the time they are targeting to work in the fund management or asset management industry. So indeed, most of the CFA members are in this sector. Of course, the figures that you see, these are the global numbers. So if you look at markets such as Malaysia, which is primarily not exactly a global financial center, So therefore, the distribution of where the members are and which sectors would be slightly different from the global numbers. But nevertheless, portfolio management, research analysts, these are still, the bigger uh, job roles. And likewise, in asset management is also relatively big for CFA members in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, it will be the other sectors that will be slightly bigger, meaning the accounting and finance, banking, in particular investment banking, wealth management, equities, right? So the last three I mentioned, investment banking, wealth management, and equities, these sectors will be relatively bigger in Malaysia compared to uh, the global numbers. Then, of course, you see other sectors like private equity, risk management, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so these two pie charts show you where the members are. I'm going to just jump to the next slide, which basically it's an old slide. But I guess maybe the last 1-2 years, the pay levels didn't really move much. I guess not just Malaysia, but around the region and globally, um, didn't really move much. So it's probably a good indication of what it is going forward, and maybe even a slight decline going forward. So the numbers are uh, in local currency terms. So I'm showing the front office roles, uh, those in private equity and those in hedge fund. And you can just go to many of these uh, websites, whether it is Robert Walters, Hayes, Consultant, and so on. I mean, these are the headhunting firms, and they do run regional survey on salaries. Now, the purpose of me showing this slide and also my next slide, which my next slide looks at um, several other roles which are front office. And the last one at the bottom is actually the research slash fund management, right? That is the topic of the day. Now, my purpose of showing these numbers and also the pie charts is basically to, I'm sure most of you are already quite convinced this is what you want to be pursuing. But of course, just to be doubly sure, that's why I showed, where the members are, which are the sectors, and then now we look at, what kind of salaries would an entry level person come in at the analyst or junior position that is on the left hand side column, right? Entry level position. So this is what you would expect uh, in a front office role. Now, the thing is, you might also hear about mid office and back office positions. So let's say if you intend to work in a particular sector, you are targeting a particular career, but because of the job market, which is not fantastic right now, not just in Malaysia, but I guess also around the region and around the world, it's not fantastic. So if you can get into the sector, but not necessarily that specific job role, which is an analyst or fund management entry level, um, you should also consider getting into the sector, perhaps in a mid office or back office position, so that when the times are better, then there is actually an opportunity to switch your role. Okay, so just sharing from some experience uh, from other students throughout the many years of our program. We've been running this program for more than 20 years, right? And we always get questions about, how to break into the industry and so on. So afterwards and during this session, feel free to ask questions about breaking into the industry and so on. So the purpose of showing this slide is to give you an idea, and of course to also let you know that um, just try to get in. If in the end you want to be a fund manager or an investment analyst, try to get into the sector, right? And then make your move subsequently. There will always be opportunity, and that opportunity will be better if you are an insider, right? Yeah, talking about insiders, most of the time, these job openings, whenever they come up, sometimes they already have somebody in mind. Uh, Sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they do have someone in mind. So therefore, if you're just applying randomly, then chances are actually quite low. So then how do you get in front of that? So there are some tips and strategies, of course, but I just want to get to my next one slide first. The next slide, please. Okay, I think we skip this middle office and and go to the next one. Okay, so the CFA charter, um, helps in several ways, right? Of course, part of you getting to the charter is also to get to know that wonderful network, whether it is your classmates who are in the same program, uh, or the lecturers who may give you some introductions, or maybe they might be other CFA members, right? Because when you become a CFA charter holder, you're part of a membership in Malaysia. Uh, I think we are approaching 1,000 members very soon in Malaysia, CFA members. There's also a network of candidates or people who are working towards the charter pendings, who attend the CFA Malaysia activities. So that is a network that is helpful with getting the job. Okay, so in terms of the presentation, I say, okay, this is what you intend to do. That is the pay you would expect entry level. And then, okay, how do you get to that charter? How do you get to that job, right? How do you get to that job? Besides, knowing some insiders, or the boss, or your relatives knows the people in the company. The other way is by network, professional network. Okay, but this professional network may not guarantee you, right? So you also need some experience. Okay, you might be thinking, yeah, chicken and egg, because you want to get in. So if you can't get in, how to get the experience? Okay, so sometimes the fund management company or the research house may hire people from related parts of the industry. So let's say if you work in investment banking, um, then there's another pathway. So we're talking about path, right? So to get to the fund management analyst position, there are alternative path, right? One, as I've mentioned, get into that company or sector and then switch the role later on. Another is maybe get into another sector within finance. It could be banking, it could be um, private equity, something related, but not exactly the same thing. And then after that, you switch over. All right. So experience in other sectors within finance will be helpful for you to make that transition. So that is another pathway. Now, sometimes the research house may hire people not from banking and finance. Okay, so for example, an example, especially in the technology space, or rather the tech analyst. Whenever they want to hire someone, an analyst uh, that is supposed to research into a very technical area, so might be technology, might be telco, um, they actually could hire someone from that industry. So I've ever seen many cases whereby the telco analyst, actually the first job is from the telecom industry. Then they pick up finance along the way, and then that person switch over to the finance or investment industry as an analyst, but first job from telco, right? So that is an example of coming from a specific industry and then jumping into the sector that you're supposed to analyze. Of course, the second part of this particular slide is by qualification, and that will be a finance qualification, right? Whether it's CFA, MBA, Masters of Science in Finance. So the pathway is via qualification or education. And of course, the background to that is you need to have a bachelor's degree, which I'm sure all of you have, bachelor's degree or equivalent. All right. So of course, amongst the three postgrad qualifications, uh, we are promoting CFA, right? But objectively speaking, um, and I think your friends will know and your seniors will know, and you would have researched it online. It is very flexible, obviously, right? There are three levels. You can take it at your own pace. And today, as you know, from 2021 onwards, uh, the exams are more frequent, right? So previously, level one, you can take the exam only twice a year. But from next year onwards, you could take it 4 times in a year. I mean, it's available 4 times in a year. And then the level two and three are more frequent, whereas previously it's just once a year. All right. So previously it takes a longer time. Going forward, if you're able to complete it very, very quickly, it's certainly within 2 years you can complete it. Right. Now, having said that, some of you may be aware that in order to get the CFA charter, you need to clock 48 months of relevant working experience. And the thing is this, the working experience part is retrospective. That means you can count to the time that before you become a CFA candidate, but that experience need to be investment decision making or related to it. So if you have questions around that, happy to answer them afterwards as well. Okay, so the pathway, there are several pathways by experience, by qualification. So by qualification, of course, um, this applies typically for people who are just fresh out of school. Complete your bachelor's degree, do your master's or do your CFA, and then you still need to get into a banking and finance related role, preferably. Okay. Having said that, there are some people who earn the charter, but they didn't work in the banking finance industry. They might be working for an MNC. So that is possible. Okay, that is possible because the CFA charter is granted for the experience, regardless of what sector. So you can be working in MNC or working in SME, but if you're in an investment uh, role, or if you are making investment decision for your company, that will qualify you for the charter, right? And then therefore it is also a pathway as well, another possible pathway. Non-banking finance, but the role is investment related. Okay, so that is the pathway. Um, that is the pathway. So on my next slide, before we open for Q&A, so I just want to recap, you know, to sell the CFA charter, of course. So, just to recap, this is a graduate level investment credential. So, there is a minimum requirement, obviously, bachelor's degree or equivalent. But in any discipline, right, you don't have to be uh, taking an accounting or business or economics degree. But that said, um, the program obviously will be more smooth sailing for people with accounting or finance or economics or business degree. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. In fact, there are many people who are engineering trained or mathematics trained who do very well as an investment professional. There are people who graduated in arts and subsequently made the switch. That is possible. But that said, if you are from a non-finance background at the moment, it means you need to work a bit harder, right? Need to work a bit harder. Um, that means while you're preparing for the CFA, you need to put in more effort. Okay, so CFA Institute, which is the examining body, they did some kind of survey, right? So typically, the candidate will take 300 hours of preparation per level, per level. Okay, so whether you're attending classes, you're doing self-study, um, that is the typical preparation time, which means you could be attending some lessons. You could, at the same time, also need to do some self-study on your own, do some practice questions. So for candidates without the finance background, then you need to clock in more hours to bring yourself on par uh, with the other candidates in terms of your accounting knowledge, right? Accounting knowledge, economics knowledge, statistics knowledge. Okay, these are the three building blocks for level one. These are also subjects in level one, but typically it would actually require some foundational knowledge. So if you don't have it, uh, my personal recommendation really is um, spend a couple of weekends or a couple of weeks going through first year university accounting, economics, statistics, right? So that will bring you on par with the other um, candidates. Okay, so back to the CFA program, CFA charter. Um, till today, after more than 50 years, right? CFA charter has been around uh, for more than 50 years. And in the early days, in the early 1960s, uh, started in the US. And in the mid 1980s, it came to Asia, to Japan and to Singapore first. And then it spread to Hong Kong and other countries and Malaysia. Malaysia, I think in the early 90s that it started. The program started here, or people started taking the exams here uh, in the early 1990s. And till today, after many years, it is still the most recognized investment qualification. You don't really have to explain to the employer or an investment company what the CFA is. Unlike if you're taking a master's program, you need to tell the employer which university it is, right? Because it goes by how famous the business school is for that MBA or master's program. Whereas there's just only one CFA. So it's widely recognized by employers, right? That's important. On top of that, many financial jurisdictions or regulatory bodies um, use the CFA qualification as a proxy for licensing. So in some jurisdictions, you cannot be a fund manager if you don't have a CFA. In some jurisdictions, okay, but not in Malaysia and Singapore, okay, because there are many other fund managers who don't have a CFA, but a large number of them do have CFA. Likewise, for an investment analyst in certain jurisdictions, you need to have CFA. Likewise, in Malaysia, Singapore, you don't need it, but obviously, um, the licensing exams for fund manager and analyst, some of these exams are created by AB Maximus. So I can say that the licensing exam questions, they are actually based on CFA curriculum. Okay, so there you are, right? So getting into the industry, having a CFA helps. The last bullet point on this website, web slide, uh, today more than 180 universities, maybe closer to 200, incorporate CFA curriculum into the degree program, okay, including many universities in Malaysia, right? So whether or not they are recognized as a CFA program partner, that's another story. Some of them do apply for that official recognition, some of them don't, but many of them incorporate CFA curriculum into the finance degree programs, including Sunway. All right. So I can say that your bachelor's of finance, uh, even part of your bachelor's of, I think there's an actuarial qualification as well at Sunway University. So personally and amongst our colleagues, we had worked with SunU professors to help map certain parts of your curriculum with the CFA curriculum. Okay, okay. Anyway, these 180 universities, right, who are the program partners of CFA Institute, um, these are amongst the top global universities, right, including Oxford, including in Singapore, the top three universities. So that is testament to the quality and the rigor of the exam and of course the curriculum. Because professors figured out no point reinventing the wheel. CFA Institute already created the curriculum, so just incorporate it, and that is good enough for the global finance industry. Okay, so with that, I end my very short presentation. I've been speaking for about half an hour. My last slide is just a contact uh, information slide on my, I think need to jump 2 slides, right? This one is basically saying a lot of things which I have already mentioned. So my last slide should be a contact slide. You have Michelle's email there in case you don't have it. You also have my colleague's email, Andrew Jong, um, and he's happy to also take questions, either of them, in case tonight we are not able to answer them. So with that, thank you, and I think there are some questions. Let's look at. Uh, okay, let's look at some questions that has come from the audience. So 4 years, right? Okay, so 4 years is the requirement basically for the experience part, right? And this experience can be accumulated previously, retrospectively, or going forward prospectively. So it is independent of taking the classes, it is independent of taking the exams, right? The experience part is independent. But of course, um, my personal recommendation is try to get in, don't wait until level three. Maybe after level one or whilst you're doing level two, you should try to get into the finance investment industry. May not be exactly what you want, that is the analyst or fund management, but try to get in, get to know the people, and then start clocking experience, number one. And number two, when it comes to level three, I find that if you're from the industry, even though not directly in, it helps because many of the questions, especially the essay questions, it's helpful if you understand the context uh, of investing rather than if you're not from the industry, then they may talk about something and to you is very theoretical, right? But if you're in the industry, you got friends in the industry, colleagues, it really, really helps, especially for level three. Okay, next question is from Edward. Am I at a disadvantage if you have a degree with irrelevant field? So again, um, I mentioned that we have many candidates and students, right? In fact, most of the students in the class, yeah, that's why they took the class. Majority of them are not from the relevant field, and they wish to get into the relevant field,
Yeah.
right? Some of them don't have accounting degree. They may have, bachelors of social sciences or mathematics or engineering or science, right? And they want to switch. So it's perfectly fine. All right. So this program started in the US, and you know that in US they believe in liberal arts. They believe in like, okay, your first degree, you don't have to specialize. You specialize at the postgrad, right? For example, their law degree is a JD, right? That is actually postgrad. So they believe in this liberal arts education. So therefore, uh, there is no major disadvantage. But as I explained earlier, you need to spend a bit more effort in your year one, level one, to level up in terms of basic accounting, basic statistics, basic economics. That should be okay. It's the effort, right? It's the effort. Okay, next question is from Chang Wee. Any exemptions for accounting and finance? I'm afraid not. So even if you have a PhD, even if you're dean of business school were to come in, sorry, have to start from level one. All right, no exemptions for PhD or professor or whatever. Okay, yeah, so no exemptions. So unlike other financial qualification, it's the other way around. They actually give a CFA charter exemption. So example, if you are taking certain paper, right, to become a licensee under Securities Commission Malaysia or under the Central Bank Institute of Banking Finance Singapore or HKMA or even in the US, if you have a CFA qualification or in some jurisdictions, certain level of CFA, they give you exemption for their paper. If you take the CAIA, I believe they exempt you from level one. If you take, I think one of the risk management professional certification, they also give exemption for CFA. So it's not the other way around. They recognize us, but we don't recognize them. Okay. So we are
That is
atas.
a
We are
good
atas.
news. Yeah. That is a good news eventually. Yeah. So do we have any more questions from the floor at the moment? No. But okay, I do get some questions from the students from the inquiry sometimes that if they are not in the related industry, okay, so for example, it's in a commercial, you know, business, but if they are in the finance department, will that work experience recognized?
Okay. So finance department is still a bit too broad for CFA Institute to make an assessment. So you need to be a bit more specific to say what exactly in finance department are you doing. So if it is just doing accounting or bookkeeping, obviously that doesn't count, right? Because it's not
Mm,
really doing investment related.
yep.
But
Mm,
if you're working for an SME, and let's say you're the accountant,
mm.
and you're the only accountant, there's no other person.
Okay.
So most likely you will qualify if you
Ah,
describe it in detail. Because if you are the accountant in only accountant in the SME, you will be making all the investment decision, right? Or
mm,
helping your boss make the decision. You'll be
Mm.
writing the proposal. You'll be helping the boss. Okay, do I, you know, invest in certain expansion of your company and so on. So you need
Right.
to describe, uh, because you need to spend at least 50% or more of your full-time job in an
Mm.
investment decision making or a role that is supporting your boss before your boss make that important decision. So as an
Right.
accountant, most likely you also manage the treasury function.
Mm.
So a treasury function is considered. So let's say you're import-export company.
Mm.
You definitely do treasury function one. You deal
Mm.
with the bank, you decide, all this treasury related role. Yeah.
Mm.
So need to be specific, right?
Right.
And it cannot be like, oh, I'm doing accounting. Got to be even more specific. Yeah. So likewise for auditor,
Mm.
same thing. So if you say your
Mm.
auditor, okay,
Mm.
it's too broad. If
Mm.
you are auditing, that means your portfolio is auditing banks or
Mm.
auditing investment company,
Mm.
then the answer is yes, it's considered. So
Ah.
let's say if you are work for central bank, you work for central
Mm.
bank, Bank Negara. So Bank
Mm.
Negara, they actually supervise financial institution. They audit. Uh, they don't really do financial audit. They do probably a operational audit
Mm.
of banks. All right.
Mm.
So
Mm.
so in that role in central bank, of course they got to give you CFA. What? How can they
Oh.
not give someone who works in Bank Negara and they tell Bank
Good.
Negara, no, sorry, you don't
Yeah.
qualify.
Yeah, wow. So that's mean it's really a good news for our, the accountancy students that
Yes.
who are actually practicing audit, to actually take up this, and the work experience can be recognized
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
are auditing the finance
Mm.
uh,
The finance
related.
sector. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Oh, that's very good. So
mhm.
I can see one or two of our Sunway TES lecturers there watching here with us. Please tell your student. Okay, so there's another question from David.
Yeah, it's kind of like answered because
Yeah,
as what
is the
Michelle,
yeah.
yeah, finance team. So like I said, more specific. Yeah. So
Mm,
it's not the status of the company, whether it's listed, unlisted. CFA
mm,
Institute doesn't really care.
yeah.
It's more the job role and the exact experience.
Mm,
Okay.
mm. Yeah. And perhaps I would like to add on here as well, just to tell that our January intake is now open for enrollment. Our first day of class will be commencing on the 9th of January. So for you guys out there who has not, signed up with us, please quickly send in your registration form to us. Yeah. And our package is actually inclusive of the tuition classes, revision class, mock exam, as well as the Wiley material. Yeah. Beng Hui, would you like to elaborate more on the Wiley material?
Sure. So the Wiley material that is provided, yeah. So on my first slide, you saw Wiley is also one of the partners. So
Mm,
Wiley is our content partner. So
mm,
we get the study guide from them, right? So study guide, as you know, is like your 10-year series, lah, right? So it's like
mm,
easier for you to read compared to the official text.
mm,
And then together with study guide, obviously there is a question bank. So there are
mm.
several thousand practice questions. So there are more than
Wow,
enough questions for you to practice.
practice.
The study guide is your reference material.
Mm,
Of course, the classes come with a PPT, right? So you're given a
mm,
PowerPoint so that you are able to follow the class. And of course, part of the Wiley package also includes uh, on-demand video. So in addition to coming for Sunway classes, in case you miss any class, you can catch up via the on-demand Wiley video. It's pre-recorded by their global instructor,
mm,
but it's quite low speaking lah. But it's okay. They don't have a heavy accent, so it's mainly American, Canadian,
Mm,
and maybe one British guy. So it's
mm,
okay. It's not French or whatever it is. So
mm,
no heavy accent. You can actually catch up on demand video. So the
mm,
Wiley package actually by itself, if you purchase it by itself, um, it's actually a few thousand ringgit already. Um, yeah, a few
mm.
thousand ringgit because
Yeah.
all these things
Mm,
it is part of the global Wiley deal that we have with them. Now, in
mm,
addition to that, amongst the students and a few of the lecturers, we have a WhatsApp group. Okay,
mm.
so you opt in, lah, opt in. If you want to
Yep.
join, you opt in because PDPA, right? So your phone number. So you say opt in. Okay, you opt in. This will be interesting and useful because there's a lot of peer support.
Mm,
Okay, number one is peer support. So sometimes, even before the lecturer come and say something, maybe your classmate already have a solution,
mm.
right? Yeah. So then they can help each other. You help each other basically.
Yep.
We've been
Yep.
doing this for the last 4 5 years,
Yep.
and actually so far so good. This is very
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Because
very good.
we understand, the Asian culture, students, they just don't like to ask questions in class sometimes. So this is a very good channel for them to, just type in, yeah, the questions, and then they have a discussion there. And Darren, no doubt, is always there to help our students in the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Talking about Darren. Okay. So
Mm,
maybe I don't have a separate slide for lecturers. Okay.
mm,
But this program is a very unique program. Uh, and I believe it's only in Malaysia and Singapore that we are running this with many subject matter experts as the lecturer. All right.
yep.
So basically, the person who is teaching the regular class, he or she, yeah, um, is a subject matter expert. That means the person teaches that subject, and that
Mm,
person has experience, right, real experience in that subject,
mm,
so that whenever there are some very interesting student
mm.
asking some very deep questions, no
Questions. Yeah.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
the lecturer
Yeah.
can share, you
Mm,
know, how it works actually.
mm,
So in a sense, you get some real application answers
mm,
uh, from the lecturer, and then
mm,
at the end of the program, we have a revision class, great
mm,
revision class. So this is where our friend Darren DeGraff, Canadian lecturer, is based in Vancouver. So
mm,
he's the main guy doing revision. Of course,
mm,
revision also there's another lecturer helping out. So
mm,
there'll be like two of them doing revision class. So
mm,
revision class is slightly different in that this is where we try to wrap up the concept
mm,
and put in the more the exam focus, right?
mm,
More of exam focus, whereas
yeah,
the regular classes focuses on the knowledge. Make sure you understand the knowledge. Make sure you understand what it's all about and how it works
mm,
in the real context,
mm,
and less of exam tips in the regular class, revision class, exam focus, exam tips, and
mm,
really drill and drill.
mm,
Okay. Yep.
yeah. So, and here I see, oh, Farida says we have very dedicated lectures in Sunway TES. Thank you, Farida. Do we have any more questions from the floor? Please feel free to put into the comment box. Yeah, I should have bring. Okay, what is the shortest duration I can complete all the CFA level exams? Hmm. Well.
Okay, so it is actually possible to do it roughly within a year and a half.
Mm.
Um, but then again, is this why is there a rush?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
because you still need that 4 years of experience, right? Firstly, so for the younger grads, I know that you want to quickly finish it before you take on more, senior
mm,
roles.
mm,
Um, but I think even in 1.5 years, if that is possible, by all means do it. Um, but shouldn't be any shorter than that because you need time to prepare. Okay, you
mm,
need time to prepare. Of course, for level one, for many people with strong background, uh, you can even ace the exam for level one.
mm,
But we still recommend uh, a measured approach, even at level one, so that you build a good foundation,
mm,
right? So that you build a good foundation. We've heard of candidates who reverse engineer level one. That means they study by studying questions.
mm,
That works maybe for level one, but as you move up to the higher level, it's basically application of concept.
mm,
So if you take the shortcuts, whether by reverse engineering to study for level one or
mm,
doing it very quickly, you're not building a strong foundation. So our recommendation is, and it kind of goes along with the class schedule. Each semester, we take around 4 months to 5 months, right, to complete it, and then you take a very short break before you go for the next level.
mm,
Yeah. So 1.5 years, ngam ngam, right?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a
Well,
bit longer is perfectly fine. All right.
mm,
Don't have to
mm,
rush to
yeah,
your comfort level. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. For professional qualification, I always don't believe in, rush it off, you know. Anyway, for you to sit for the next exam, you must have at least a 6 months cooling period. Am I right? Like, for example, you have done your level one, you have to wait for 6 months in order to sit for your level two. Same goes to level three. So, in order to meet that as well, you have to see when do you sign up for your exam in order to meet that requirement. Mm, basically, yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Next target after CPA.
good.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. What's the process to register for workshop in? Oh, okay. There's a intakes all exam settings. Okay. Yep. So basically, to register with us, the Sunway TES workshop, the CFA workshop, you just need to email us, and then we will send you the online registration form. That with that online registration form, you complete the form, attach with the necessary documents, email it back to us. Yeah. Even for payment wise, also you can just make payment through our Sunway payment portal. Okay, so that's a very straightforward registration. But bear in mind, the registration of Sunway test does not include the CFA exam as well as the CFA enrollment processes. So for CFA enrollment and the CFA examination registration, you still have to complete that through the CFA official website. Yeah. Um,
Jasper has a question on possible to work full-time job. Of course. This is a professional program, right? So the expectation is, well, at least for level two and three, right? You should be working. Yeah,
mm,
it's not really meant for full-time
mm,
student, really. Yeah,
mm, mm, mm.
yeah. So it is
Yeah.
possible, and
Mm,
most people actually are already working. Yeah,
mm. Yeah. Our workshop is weekend anyway, so
yeah.
it's meant for working
Mm,
students.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Mm. Yeah. So for the final year students, Bing Hui, can they start um, during the beginning of their final year, or they can only do like towards the end of their final year?
Okay. Yeah, good question. The criteria is quite relaxed as long as you are in your final year. It doesn't
Mm,
matter. whether you are in the first month of your final year or you're finishing your final year, as long as
Ah,
final year. Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. But that's for
All right.
level one only, right? Yeah,
Yes,
only level one.
yes. Yeah.
Mm,
Because I do get quite a lot of inquiries from the degree students who are already in the final year and
mm,
they just can't wait to start the CFA program. So they came in and asked me, how soon can I start? So,
mm,
yeah,
mm.
here's the answer.
Yeah. So I mean, if they are confident to do it,
Mm,
go for it. If not,
yeah.
then it's okay. You can wait.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, yeah. Yeah. What's the name? Oh, okay. We have just talked about it just now. The study material we are using is actually from Wiley. Yeah. For that, how much will it cost? Is already about 1,000 plus ringgit Malaysia, right, Beng Hui?
Actually, the thing costs more than that because the package we are providing is called the silver package from
Package.
Wiley. They don't sell it anymore.
Mm,
They only sell the gold package.
mm,
The silver package is without certain features lah.
mm,
The gold package costs almost 1,000 US.
mm,
Previously, if I remember correctly, the silver package previously is maybe 700 or 800 US.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So it's more than 1,000 plus.
Yeah. So
Mm-mm.
it's actually quite worth it in a way to sign up with us, which our package is actually bundled with the material, the tuition classes, you know, and the mock exam as well. Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
one,
There's one
yeah,
more thing. Sorry,
yeah.
the Wiley package, right?
Mm,
Okay, touch wood. If you fail your first attempt and you retake subsequently,
mm,
Wiley actually has some kind of warranty lah. In that subsequent time when you resit your CFA, you still can get access to the Wiley portal. Of course, you
mm,
don't get the books anymore,
yeah.
but you still can access the recorded Wiley video, the
Mm,
question bank,
mm,
uh, of course, the online study guide, not the printed one. So you still get the Wiley portal for your subsequent round uh,
mm,
at the same level. In case you fail that level, they give you access. The next try. Yeah.
mm.
So in a way, it's okay. It's kind of assuring. Yeah.
Uh, and you know what, Beng Hui, that's called don't pay twice to pass once.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in a way, it's like
Yeah. It
they
is. It is
will support you until you pass.
until you
Yeah,
pass.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And oh yeah, and Sunway TES also will support you until you pass in a way where, um, say you don't make it through the level one, for example, then you can come back to attend our classes without any charges. Yeah. Mm.
Mm,
That is the
yeah.
extra support that we give to our
Mm,
students.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So I
mm.
think
Oh,
ah.
oh, okay. Well,
So right now it is on Zoom at the moment.
yeah. Mm.
Uh, yeah. So it will continue until on Zoom until it is permissible to do physical classes. Yeah.
Mm. Of course, we would prefer. We just can't wait to have the physical classes back. Because yeah, we misses our students are basically. So of course, in this situation, we can't help but just to run it online. Mm. Okay, so I believe there's no other questions from the floor. So do you have anything to add on, Bigway?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So basically, if you have more questions, feel free
Mm.
to contact Michelle. Yeah,
Yep.
or contact Andrew.
Mm.
So anything, anytime. any question related to CFA
Mm,
classes, career,
mm.
you need advice, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we then call it tonight. And so thank you guys for joining us, and please stay
Merry
safe.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hopefully next year will be a better year. Okay, so take care, and hopefully to see you in Sunway. Bye.